Good afternoon and welcome to a quick review for the new mini set for Murder at Castle Nathria, Maw and Disorder. So this mini set review is going to go through all the cards very quickly. For a more in-depth set review, you can check out our full set review that I'm doing with Martian Boo and Otters, two other wild streamers, over on my Twitch channel in about 2.5 hours. Or you can view it either here or in a more edited version on Martian's channel afterwards. We will discuss each of the cards in detail and how to use them more appropriately. But I'm just doing a quick overview of the cards now. So first up for Demon Hunter, we have an interesting looking set, shall we say. So we've got this new legendary Prosecutor Meltranics. So this is Battle Cry. Your opponent can only play their left and rightmost cards on the next turn. It's a demon. It's a 2/6. This strikes me as kind of an Akani-ish effect, halfway between sort of Akani, Lower Theb, perhaps a little bit weaker than both, though. I think this is something which could see play in the future. I mean, as we move forward in time, Demon Hunter's going to get more and more playable cards. Things like this in Stellina may well find a place in a Reno Demon Hunter shell in the very distant future. But as it currently stands, and I think this goes for most of these Demon Hunter cards, not a whole lot of room for them at the moment. But this is a decent card, and I could definitely see it finding a home in the future. Second up, we have All Fel Breaks Loose. Summon a friendly demon that died this game, or infuse 3 demons have to have died. Summon 3 instead. It's a 5-mana fel spell. This seems very slow, very bad in standard, and again, I don't know where this is going to go in wild until we see more stuff come out, but we're going to get to that point in the next year or two maybe, where Demon Hunter starts to have that critical mass of good cards to carry an archetype forwards. We shall see. And finally, we have a 4-mana 5/4 Sightless Magistrate. Battlecry. Both players draw until they have 5 cards. So this one, God, can you imagine if it was odd? As an even card, I don't see this. As an odd card, this would have maybe brought back odd DH. I think there's an argument for this being playable if it was worded more like Glide. So shuffle in and draw until you have 5. That would be very good. This was probably playable then, but as it stands, even 5 cards, I'm not so sure. Against your Reno Priest and stuff, this is going to be really good. It's going to draw you up to 5. It's not going to draw them up to 5. But again, we live in a world where Demon Hunter in Wild isn't terribly playable. So yeah, I'm not so sure about this one or this entire set of cards having a home anytime soon. Next up, we have Druid, 3-mana Incarceration. Choose a minion. It goes dormant for 3 turns. Minions, big minions, a weakness of Druid. Not sure this solves it. That said, people used to run Naturalize, but again, that's got a big advantage being 1 mana. This just strikes me as too slow and doesn't really deal with an issue. Next up, we have a 2-mana Nature spell, Due Process. For the rest of the game, both players draw an extra card at the start of their turn. This is either going to be really bad or enable a whole new world of slower and potentially some faster Druid decks in the future. Effects are very powerful. Mill Druid used to be a thing. We will see with this. Obviously giving your players card advantage, not so great, but you also get it yourself. In a world with unnerfed Guff, this was probably the nuts. Not sure where it goes now, but decent card. And Attorney at Maw, a 2-mana 1/3. Choose 1, silence a minion, or give a minion immune this turn. It's like an IMB cowl on steroids, really. Cool art, but not sure where this really goes. Maybe if we still had some aggressive Druid decks floating around, this would make the cut. Overall, though, seems like it probably goes in the standard decks, but not in the wild decks. So yeah, Druid didn't do too well out of this mini set, I don't think. Next up we have Hunter. Hunter, perhaps the first class we've seen so far, which has done quite well out of this mini set. First up we have a 6-mana 5/4 legendary. Battlecry. Discover a friendly Death Rattle minion that died this game. Trigger and gain its Death Rattle. Now a few clarifications. That minion, you do get a copy of it in your hand, and so this is basically a 9 lives on a body. In Wild, this is probably better than it is in Standard at the moment, if there was a place to put it. Standard suffers from quite a few Death Rattle synergy cards, but no real Death Rattle payoff. But that said, it's a very strong card, and it probably goes in some variation of Beast Hunter, you know, with Mountain Bear. We shall see. Next up, we have Shadehound, 5 mana 6/5. Whenever this attacks, give your other beast +2/+2. And if 3 beasts infuse it, it gains Rush. Seems very hard to set up, and we haven't really seen that kind of board swarm hunter deck in standard appear yet. In wild, it probably doesn't make the cut in Copper Hunter. One day we might be able to get 40 cards, but it seems unlikely, you know. The 3 beasts is definitely doable by that, but you're paying for a 5 mana rush at that point. It probably wins you the game if it attacks, but I think the Wild Seed package is kind of already filling that deck out if you want to start cutting cards. And next up, a new Hunter Secret, Motion Denied. 2 mana, of course. After your opponent plays 3 cards in turn, dome them for 6, deal 6 damage to them. I've seen a lot of people down on this because it's a secret, but I think this is really good in Wild. I don't think it's so great in Standard, but in Wild, this versus Quest Mage, it's a huge chunk of damage. Worth noting that with Tavish, this does dilute the Tavish pool, but it does 9 damage. So you're paying 2 mana for 6 damage or 9 damage. I mean, we've already seen decks run Rat Trap and whatnot in the past in Wild, and this could find a spot in some kind of deck eventually. I think the only thing in Standard that wants it really is Quest Hunter, and that might be a bit of a stretch. So Hunter did fairly well. Next up, Mage. We have the least important card first. 4 mana, Life Sentence. Just remove a minion from the game. Goes in Reno Mage, maybe. It definitely takes a dump on Big Priest. So remove a minion from the game is similar to Magic the Gathering's Exile effects. It completely removes it. You cannot resurrect it. It's just gone. It's just gone. It doesn't trigger death rattles or leave the battlefield triggers or anything like that. It's just gone. 4 mana for that. Decent, probably too slow in the majority of games, so it's a nice discover option. It doesn't have a type, so very niche, I think. However, the next 2 cards, oh lord. Secret Mage, is it back? The first one, counter a minion. 3 mana, objection. Secret. When your opponent plays a minion, counter it. Yeah, I did wonder if we'd see this one day, and I hate it. I think Secret Mage might do a thing now in Standard with this and the next card, but yeah, definitely goes in like 40 card Secret Mage decks in Wild. It's kind of disgusting. As a combo breaker and just a tempo tool, playing this with Lackey, you know, you don't lose a whole lot of tempo, but you absolutely deny your opponent, and we've seen how powerful Akani is already. Next up, Contract Chondro, 6 mana 6/6, costs 3 less for each secret you control. So obviously this suffers a comparison to the Lackey, the 6 mana 5/5. Oh sorry, Cabal Crystal Runner, what am I talking about? In Wild, but I still think it's playable. You have to have not had a secret triggered to reduce it, but it is potentially a turn 2 0 mana 6/6. I think it's often going to be 0 mana if you're playing it, if you're managing to fit it in. You know, you can just play a secret and play this for 0 if you've already got one up. Probably make Secret Mage do a thing in Standard, and goes in the 40 card lists in Wild that are running around with a Lunath. They were already seeing some success, so yeah, Mage did pretty well, and Secret Mage is back. You know, it's this Blizzard's parting gift to Ixar. So yeah, look out for Mage. Paladin. Paladin. Good cards here, I think. But where do they go? What's Paladin's payoff? So, firstly, in Standard days, we've got Order in the Court. 2 mana. Reorder your deck from highest cost to lowest cost, and draw a card. This is like a 2 mana Polka that draws a card. It's strong. Does it have a home? Well, in Wild, potentially. Some old Reno Pally lists ran Polkelt. Holy Wrath Paladin used to be a thing. Can this revitalize that? Will it lead to some kind of combo in the future? We'll have to see. This seems a very strong effect. You know, it's a 2 mana cantrip that Polkelt's your deck. Seems good to me. In standard, it's, you know, play Carriel on turn 10 guaranteed. Can't Theater the Carriel, so seems okay. I just worry about in standard, is there enough payoff? Are the pure cards worth it, you know, for what we're about to see? So the next card is Class Action Lawyer, Battlecry. If your deck has no neutral cards, set minion stats to 1. It's 2 mana, 2/3. We used to play Keeper of Alderman. It's a good card. Again, does pure Paladin have the need and the reward to play this card? You know, you've already got Righteous Defense, things like that. It is not a spell, which is notable because Righteous Defense is, and Stonehearth Vindicator is a card, as is Knight of Anointment, so this could see play in pure Paladin in standard, but again, that's just not a thing in Wild. There's too many strong neutral cards. Next up, Jury Duty, 3 mana, summon 2 Silverhand recruits. Give your Silverhand recruits +1/+1. Obviously trying to push Dude Pally. That just doesn't seem enough to me. It's not a big winner. I know I've seen people having some success in standard, but I'm not so sure about this. Maybe for odd Paladin if it goes, or if people who are on the copium to play that again. But odd Paladin as it stands isn't great into the meta at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see. But Paladin, 3 strong cards. It's just, where do they go? Where do they go? Priest, however, does not have the same issue. First up, we have a new priest card, Theft Accusation, sorry. 1 mana shadow spell. Choose a minion. Destroy it after you play a card copied from the opponent. In standard, this is probably decent. In Wild, not so much sure, because things that Reno Priest switch to run the Thief cards often can't afford to just play one of those cards. You don't have enough density of Thief effects, and it's often quite situational. So I'm not sure this makes it into that deck, but in standard, sure. This seems decent. Next up, 4 mana 2/6 Dragon, Incriminating Psychic. It has Taunt, and it has Death Rattle. Copy a random card for your opponent's hand. I think this goes in Thief Priest in standard. Not so sure about Wild, though it does have Taunt, and it is a dragon. Now, most of the Thief decks in Wild or Reno Priest recently have settled on using Archbishop Benedictus, or Dark Bishop Benedictus, should I say, for the Shadow Hero power. You know, I was playing that deck an awful lot, and it feels great. It's a lot of fun, apart from the mirrors. This obviously doesn't go in there, but could we see a return to some kind of dragon deck? I'd love to play a bit of a Duskbreaker again, and Draconid Operative. So if we get enough good dragons, and this is a good one to put in there, we will, you know, have to see whether that's worth revisiting anytime soon. And next up, a 3 mana Holy Spell. Give a friendly minion +2/+3, and only you can target this with spells and hero powers. It seems really good. It's like a protection spell that also buffs. You can discount it. In Naga Priest, this probably is, I don't know, it is kind of expensive. It probably is playable, because if you play this, you win the game. I think often you play this on a big minion, go all in, and it's untargetable for the opponent. Yeah, it's going to just win you games. Might see playing some Wild decks. We've seen a sort of similar style Blessed Priest, Naga Priest, you know, Radiant Elemental Tempo decks come up in Wild before. So this might find a home in one of them too, but probably doesn't edge out other options we have in Wild, and might only see some standard play. Priest overall, some pretty strong cards. Next up we have Rogue. Rogue seems super confused. So first we've got a 6 mana 4/4 Rush that costs 1 less for each card you've played this turn, called Scribbling Stenographer, one of my favourite names from this mini set. Yeah, it's like a worse null, isn't it? I don't know if you're running both in the same deck. I've seen Jay Alexander make a couple of comments about these cards, and I do tend to agree with him that this is not too strong. 1 less for each card you played this turn means you have to play 6 cards to get a 4/4. Miracle Rogue does do that, but does it care for the 4/4? Does it really want to play it? It's often free, but if you draw it off of Edwin, you know, it's just not going to come down. I'm going to have to wait and see how this one plays out, because it might be playable, but could equally be complete bricky garbage. You know, it doesn't play well with Passage and Edwin, 4-mana Edwin in Wild. So we'll just see. Next, Murder Accusation. 2-mana spell, choose a minion, destroy after another enemy minion dies. Seems like a good meme card. Like, we could put this in Reno Rogue, I guess. But, you know, you're paying 2 mana on probably turn 2 or 3 in Wild with this to kill a minion if you kill another minion. Seems like a lot of hoops to jump through. And finally, a Rogue Secret. Another Rogue Secret, and this one's not very good either, I don't think. So when your turn starts, discover and cast a secret from another class. You know, so Blizzard are acknowledging that even Rogue Secrets, you know, they don't want to be playing. Rogue doesn't want to be playing them. So this lets you just find a random secret, and I think we can all agree that discovering a random secret from another class isn't really worth the 2 mana, unless you got a body attached, like the neutral minion that's in the Murder at Castle Nathria main set. So Rogue, confusing, and yeah, not very interesting. Next up, Shalin. First up, we have an 8-mana 6/10 Torghast Custodian, Battlecry. For each enemy minion, randomly gain Rush, Divine Shield, or Wind Fury. Big minion. Should probably be like a 4-mana card with way less stats. It's just too big, and it's a Battlecry. It seems unplayable to me. Next up we have Framester. This one's a bit more interesting. 3-mana 3/3, Battlecry. Shuffle 3 framed cards into your opponent's deck. When drawn, they overload for 2. So this turns off Highlander. It also denies your opponent mana. This seems really good. I'm excited to play this in some sort of Cope Reno Shaman. Not sure where it's meant to go in Standard, but in Wild, I can see myself playing a little bit of this. Reno Shaman's been one of those archetypes I've loved forever, and I just wasn't enjoying the sort of trend towards Snowfall Guardians and mass Mutinises and Murlocs, and this seems like something fun I could put in a Reno deck. Next up, Totemic Evidence. Choose a basic summon and summon it for 1 mana, but if 3 totems have infused this card, you summon all 4. We're moving more and more towards seeing a non-even totem deck. Maybe this makes it in one day when it comes up. It plays really well with Infuse. It's a slight limitation that it's infused 3 totems. You know, often if you're pressing your hero power in Wild, you're probably losing. And things like the Chisel, summon a totem, but this is often not going to be played for several turns. So it could be a good rebuilding tool, maybe. But yeah, decent card. Shaman got one really good card here, I think, and Framester. So yeah, pretty good mini set for Shaman overall, I'd say, because that card is just so annoying. Next up, Warlock. The puns just continue. Habeas Corpses is a 3-mana shadow spell. Discover a friendly minion to resurrect and give it rush. It dies at the end of turn. Plays really well with big Warlock minions and demons, things like Dreadlord, Moarg Forge Fiend. Maybe some kind of demon Warlock list. Can even getting giants isn't too bad with it. You know, get an 8/8 rush. Might be too slow though, and Wild might have better things to do. But in the future, this seems kind of powerful. You know, you could get Mechathune back with this. It does a similar thing to Phylactery. I'm not sure if this one actually gives you a copy in hand. My instinct is it doesn't, because it's discover a friendly minion to resurrect. It doesn't say discover a friendly minion and resurrect it. So I don't think you get one in hand. It just gives you a copy with rush. So yeah, I mean, decent card. Not sure it has a home at the moment, but strong effect, and yeah, very well could see some play in some kind of combo list in the future. Next up, Imposter. Oh dear, 2-mana 1/1 demon. Battlecry. Choose a friendly imp, transform into a copy. Not sure how well Imp Warlock's doing in Standard at the moment, but this probably goes in. Buff something with the location, copy it. Yeah. Seems very good in that. In Wild, not so sure. You know, it's a 2-mana 1/1. Has to have something in play that's worth copying. Probably a bit too slow when you could be doing, I don't know, a Flame Imp plus a Librarian. And next up, Arson Accusation. 2-mana fire spell. Getting more fire spells for Warlock, and I like that, because multicast as a card, and I'm a copium enjoyer when it comes to multicasting Warlock. So we've got Arson Accusation, 2 mana fire spell. Choose a minion, destroy it after your hero takes damage. It's a lot better than the rogue one because it's so much easier to make your hero take damage in Warlock. You got tap, you got Kobold Librarian, bunch of other stuff. You know, this is flexible. It's hard removal. It's like a 2 out of 5 card still because it's another requirement, but it is cheap enough that I think it's worth consideration sometimes. And you know, we might get enough synergy with Warlock fire spells eventually to see this be a good choice. Warrior, we have 3 very interesting cards actually. I know a lot of people have been saying, oh, why did Warrior get shafted? But hear me out here. Weapons Expert, 3 mana 3/2 battle cry. If you have a weapon equipped, give it +1/+1. Otherwise, draw a weapon. So this is either a weapon shooter or buffs your weapon. So in standard, this can draw your Outrider's Axe or whatever, and it gets buffed. If you already have it equipped, you know, I don't think this is too bad. That card probably is one of the things that used to, you know, carry Warrior in standard and still will until it rotates. And this is a shooter for it. You don't have to ruin any other weapons. You could also draw a blacksmithing hammer with this if you wanted. You've got a lot of weapon synergy at the moment with Forged in Flames as well. And I don't think this card is as bad as people say it is. Weapon shooter or weapon buff, both have seen play in the past. You know, Corsair Cache, and this is kind of like a modal version of it. You know, I can see this seeing play in both formats. You know, you have Wrench Caliber enjoyers and Wild, one of my least favourite types of player, but you know, they'll have fun with it. More Swarm Bailiff, 5 mana 4/4 taunt, battle cry. If you have 4 more armor, gain +4/+4. So there's a 5 mana 8/8 taunt. We've seen this already in Priest. There's more or less exactly the same card, which is if you've restored health this turn, and that was trash. As will this be, I think. Yeah, I don't see this being good. You have a couple of cheap armor activators at the moment in standard, but I don't think it's enough. And in Wild, I think if you're spending 5 mana on a 8/8 taunt, your opponent is just gonna drop a Gigafin and smack you with the 2 giants they played on turn 4. So I don't see this being good. Next up, we have Call to the Stand, 1 mana. Your opponent summons a random minion from their hand. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Odd Warrior finally gets his Dirty Rats. I'm going to be jamming Odd Warrior when the mini set comes out. Make no mistake, I'm golding this. I love it. Standard, it's... I'm not sure how much disruption Warrior really needs in standard. I think it makes it viable. You know, problem's card draw. Nevertheless, this is kind of bad tech option that sometimes is relevant. You know, this is always going to be a much better card for Wild, where combo is much quicker and much more prevalent. You know, I'm happy about this card for Wild. Some people think we're getting too much disruption, and I kind of do agree, but you know, the format necessitates it. Blizzard's design has gone in a way that we kind of need cards like this and Theo to give slower decks a chance against combo. So I'm going to be jamming this in Odd Warrior day 1. The jury's out on whether it'll actually be viable though, you know. Check back. So Warrior, actually some okay cards. I'm not down on it as many people are. I quite like Warrior's cards this set. Next up, neutrals. Let's go with the big ones first. Jailer, 10 mana 10/10. Battle cry, destroy your deck. For the rest of the game, your minions are immune. The amount of bait this will cause and the amount of copium I've seen around this card is excessive. This card is probably not going to win you the game when combined with a Volf Ram Shield or a Mal'Ganis. Let me just state that. You know, Shadow Priest floats around with Shadow Word Ruin, hard removal out of its ears. You will just lose the game. Do not craft Volf Ram Shield unless you are swimming in dust. Please, it is my plea to you. With alignment, this could have been interesting, but I think it's just a very fun card that is, you know, I mean, the downside has to be huge. Immune's toxic mechanic, but so I don't think it's really playable. That said, are we bringing Reno Paladin back? We'll have to wait and see. Next up, Sylvanas the Accused. 6 mana 5/5, battle cry, destroy an enemy minion. Or if it's infused for 7, you mind control it. I quite like this. It's probably good in standard, but for wild might be a fair bit too slow outside of some decks which can really swarm to make this a turn 6 mind control. Like versus Warlock, Giant Warlock, that's really strong. But I think it's just too slow for wild. In standard though, maybe Shamans play this. They have no hard time infusing a bunch of stuff, and it's a pretty powerful effect. Plus Sylvanas is back. Yes. Next up, we have yet another secret tech card. You know, they revealed this before the Mage stuff, and I was confused. Why are you printing more secret tech when we, you know, we have no viable Mage secret decks in standard, and there's so much of it already in wild. But yeah, 3 mana 2/5, Tight-Lipped Witness. Secrets can't be revealed. Another bad card for you to put in your deck to fight secret quest mage. Sorry, another bad card. You know, I would probably play Ashen Elemental over this if I had to. Yeah, just don't play this stuff. Don't play Kazan Mystic, Eater of Secrets. Don't do it. Don't do it. Next up, 3 mana 3/4, Afterlife Attendant. Your infused cards infuse while in your deck. Seems like quite a powerful effect with the Nathria around, but you have to play a Spider Tank and have stuff on board to do it, because this probably dies. If you just play this on 3, it's probably a high priority card for your opponent to remove. If you're in Druid, for instance, and you want to follow up with a Flip of Friends, I don't know about this. I'm not too sure where I stand on it with standard decks. I'm not sure how many can take advantage or want to take advantage of it. It does significantly improve your top decks, but I'm not sure it'll find its way into any decks with the infused stuff that people currently play, like Nathria's Famished Fool. I don't know, maybe with Sylvanas could be interesting, huh? Finally, we have Soul Seeker. 5 mana 3/3, battle cry. Swap this with a random minion from your opponent's deck. Oh lord, another random disruption card. This is going to trigger me so much. People are going to play this. It is probably an atrocious card, but anything which you know gets rid of big priest minions, I'm happy about. So yeah, I can see this seeing play. I don't think it's good, terribly good, but oh my gosh, it's gonna feel good when you hit a pillager or a big priest with this. Steal their Neptune, steal their scabs, their pillager, you know, of someone's Mechathune. People will play this, and I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. Anyway, if you'd like to hear Otter's and Martian's opinions on the card too, we will be streaming in about 2 hours on my Twitch channel, linked below, 6 p.m. GMT, for a full-on card review where we talk more in depth about these cards. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this quick, sweet card review. If you've got any questions, do feel free to ask, and a subscription would be much appreciated. I plan on making a lot more videos, more scripted than this, as you can tell. I'm just sitting here recording it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day, and enjoy the mini set too. Thank you.